Hey guys, welcome back to Life Up Education TV. This is your host Natsune. Today we have our guests, our friends, Thomas and Mitch right here, and also their Twitch family. Yay!
Yeah.
So now I wanted to make ASK Natsune Show, so you guys can ask me anything.
Okay, I have a question.
Let's go. Something related to mindset.
Yes, guilt. I have a guilt problem.
Guilt problem. Can you give me a little bit more context?
Yeah.
He's been stealing.
No. It's kind of hard to explain. It's like recently I have some family problems and I'm actually moving out real soon out from my house. But there's also kind of like a guilt of not being able to see my but like I know I need to get out of my house, but I feel guilty to leave my daughter for like a few days without seeing me. So that's a really big guilt problem I have. But I know I have to do it because it's in order to support my work and everything, and because of one of the characters at home that's not very how would you say it?
Just be frank, bitch.
Yeah, just not mutually, friendly. But then, there is something in the middle, which is my daughter, and the guilt is like, oh, I have to move out, but how do you deal with guilt? It's like you have to go through it, but then you feel guilty doing it. Right?
Yeah, I think
It's the only way, sorry to distract, but the only way to deal with this, I think, is to deal with it, and it's not to be like, oh well maybe because I'm feeling guilty, so I'm not gonna move out. Like, no, that's not an option. The option is you have to move out, but I feel guilty, and how do I deal with it?
So when I talk about overcoming adversity, in many times something I focus on is macro strengths, macro vision, and also, well, I would say macro vision and micro strengths. That's how I would describe it. So macro vision meaning like, in order for you to achieve something, you have to be well, as like you said, right? Like you have the bigger vision, macro mission of what you need to serve. And it's just the topic of being emotional in the moment, like being caught by the emotion, overwhelming emotion sometimes. But in those times, you definitely have to bring in the practicality. You definitely need to bring in the logical thinking of like, what is actually going on here? In order for you to produce, don't dwell on the emotion. Don't dwell on the dramatic, emotional speaking that's doing on your head.
The thing is, like,
IQ, productivity.
The thing is, like, the IQ tells me that I understand, to not be dwelling in the emotional part, but then the EQ eats in as well. So it's not. I know it's not. I'm not saying it's easy, but like it's easy to Is there any
I have a tip for you.
Yeah.
You need a bitch slap, man, and you need to stand the fuck up and be a dude, and just like, yo, where you gotta point your arm in one direction and just walk that way. That's it.
I know.
Like I'm just like, bam, that's the way I'm walking. And then
honestly, there's just no alternative, like you just don't know what the alternative would be. Like if you leave versus if you don't leave, right? Like you already know what that means to not leave. And then you're already making assumption of what's going to happen if you leave. But at this point, you don't even know what's going to happen. And the thing is, what if your daughter actually likes you being away? Like, what if actually your daughter needs that time to also grow up? Like, what if she can learn something from it? Like, it's also up to her. Like that's probably another thing about like enabling losers. sorry, I didn't mean to say your daughter is a loser at all. Like, I think she's, yeah, right. Like, I didn't mean like that. But, you know, I think one of the things that people suffer in daily basis is like entitlement gets created by like over enabling something that they don't need to be enabled. Like, you know, your life skill, your toughness, your mental toughness can be only created if you face adversity. No one can create that for you. Yeah. Like, instead of, why don't you look at this situation as a horrible thing that could happen to your daughter? Like, why don't you also pivot yourself to see this could be the opportunity for her to grow. This could be opportunity for her to be stronger. And I think that actually what happened to me as well. Like, when I was a kid, when I was younger, I had to deal with that in a very, very early age. Like, I was only like 5 or 6 when I noticed that my parents were not in love anymore, and they wanted to like separate. Like, they wanted to be separated.
That's exactly what my daughter is going through now. She's 6. She just turned 6 like last week.
And honestly, without that experience, I wouldn't be where I am today. Like, I had to be strong woman. I had to think independently. And then everything that happened to me, I blame for the positivity of whatever that brought to me instead of what this event done to me. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So I think to some level, like, I'm not giving parenting advice. I'm giving just in general, this happened to, you know, it doesn't matter if you're parent, it doesn't matter if you're a kid, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it just happened in people, right? Like, we have this blaming game in older generation, whoever you are. But from the victim side, like, we over romanticize the person who's doing the damage. But in reality, like, it's also up to, like, you cannot blame people, you know, like in the election, who wins, like, it doesn't matter. Like, this president is not forcing you to do anything. Your life is your responsibility. And in order for you to come to this point, you have to meet adversity. You can't grow this toughness in your mind, like mindset, if you don't go through, if you are protected by your parents, by your whatever, to be enabled that you being weak is okay.
All right, I have a question for you, Natsa. Here's my next question. Here you go. So, you wrote a book, right? And your book is about how to basically
make mental transformation.
Yeah, exactly. Like, improve your mental health and stuff like this. And
well, not really mental health, but I talk about how can we create mental transformation in 3 phases. So I speak about how can you be a better person and not be a bitch.
And not complain too much about life, right?
Oh, never complain.
So here's the thing, actually, you know, I'm a total wiping bitch sometimes, like, totally. I fucking cry sometimes over and complain so fucking much over stuff, especially at my company, at work, and this and that, like when things aren't working, and I'm always finding like excuses for why things don't work, or I'm always also finding like people to blame for things, etc. in my mind, even though I stop myself from doing it verbally out there. So I don't do it verbally, but the shit goes into my mind, you know what I mean? And I wanted to ask you, like, how can I stop my mind from how can I change my mindset from going like, okay, shit, we didn't sell enough this month, or we didn't do this enough that month, so it's this person's fault or that person's fault. What do I do?
I think knowing you, I can craft a very specific answer to it. Because usually I would say entitlement is what does that to you. Like, you feel like you deserve something, right? In reality, you don't deserve shit. Like, you deserve only what you work for. That's it. You don't deserve anything more. And I mean, sometimes, like, it's romance versus practicality. It's romance versus reality. So reality is just what it is. And you need to learn how to accept that. instead of romancing about what should happen, because what should happen, nobody gives a fuck about that. Like no one cares what should happen to your life. What's important is what is happening and what are you going to do about it. So instead of spending like hours and hours thinking about how could this be, how could my life be this way, like this is unfair, this is not what it's supposed to be, like I'm not having this, I'm not having that, like that's just like romantic talk that no one gives a fuck about except you. And what's happening actually is whatever you have, whatever you don't have, you don't have. So that's like usually the mechanism, right? For your case, I think it's less of an entitlement, little bit of entitlement, but I think for you, it has a little bit more to do with the fact that you're a very emotional person. You study theater, right? And another thing is like, why can't you, like, why are you trying to get to somewhere? I mean, once again, this is just one person's opinion. But for me, like, for example, entrepreneurship or business or entrepreneurship capitalism, people like it when it works in their advantage only. But that doesn't mean that you're a business person. That doesn't mean that you're an entrepreneur. Because entrepreneur means you like failing. You like failing on your face. You like losing. You like showing that you can lose and you can come back up.
Okay. I see.
Right? So if you like the trophy, if you like to get somewhere, that means that you're not enjoying entrepreneurship, and that's okay. Do what makes you happy. If that creates too much like concern, if that creates too much worries that you can't take that stomach, then it's not healthy for you anyways to be entrepreneur. Like it comes down to self-awareness a little bit too. But yeah, so it's like
failing is part of it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. So the next question from me is not say, one of the things that I'm struggling with really much is like finding the energy to just focusing on one thing like that I believe works. You have kind of selected a few things that you're working on, right? Like, and I'm in the kind of place where I have a million things that I want to do, but I'm not sure which one I should go for. What would you say to that? What makes you select something to work on or not? Is it money? Is it happiness? What is it?
The other day I posted this on Instagram. You'll probably like it. I said, making the right decision is less important than fixing the wrong problem, fixing the wrong decision. And that's how I go about it. Like, you don't know until you do it. Like, why are you strategizing? Like, why are you dwelling on what ifs, right? Like you haven't even tried anything yet. Like you can't predict it. Like only way to find out is for you to do it. And if you notice that something is not working, you got to stop it. But it's kind of like, it's better that you try 10 things and fail at 9, but find something that you like out of 10, like one thing that works for you, versus like you're dwelling on what should I work on for the 10 things and then never do any of these things, right? And without tasting it, you really don't know. You have no idea if you like it or not. Money-wise, happiness-wise, like you don't know. So my advice is like, you need to do everything.
I see.
Like nervousness. Like when you start working in a new company, because actually I'm going to a new company next month, and I know what I need to do, and I know exactly how I have confidence in what I'll be doing. But like going in there like a new environment and everything, it's kind of not nerve-wracking. Like it took me like half a year to get used to the company that I'm working in right now and knowing everyone, and just having a smooth process, progress. But now that I'm going into a new company, it's gonna like start all over again. But is there an easier way to get to feel? Well, I mean, it's obviously a confidence thing, but like,
I think
is there a way to like, like being fresh, but but you also want to look like you know what you're doing. You don't want to be like nervous, and people are like, oh, okay, he's kind of nervous. Like maybe he doesn't have enough confidence in what he's gonna do. in the company, but like I know exactly what I have to do, but it's just that like, you know, it's new faces,
Right.
new environment.
So
it makes
I think it's just only gonna expose you. I'm so big on like long-term strategy. I'm so big on like, let's bet on our actual strengths. I don't focus too much on strategies, because strategies win in a short term, but mindset is really the game in a long term. Like in a long term, even like business operation, everything. So for me, you should go in with a mindset that you should fail if you're stuck at it. No, I think my thing is, like I said,
yeah, there you go.
humility, like operate with humility. Like you should fail if you're not good at it, but fail as in like, I know your ability, right? And if you actually believe in that, you shouldn't even have the concern, because the market should be the judger, not your coworker, not your insecurity. The market is your final judger. If the market likes you, they're gonna like you. If your coworker, even if your coworkers don't like you, like the market is the final judger. So you need to shift your focus on being liked by customers instead of being liked by coworkers. Okay, all right. So guys, thank you very much for joining me today. And thank you very much everyone for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah.